Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Imperial Brush Podcast. This is our first proper episode, episode 1, and we're welcoming a new guest to the show, Brushlikker. And joining us from last time are Norm and Battleline Minis. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat, to be honest. So, first of all, what have you all been up to this week?
I'll go first, I suppose. Hello, everyone. Again.
Hello.
Hello.
So I've been running, as I'm sure you've seen, the custom chapter competition has kind of gone, well, not live, but the head-to-heads have gone live the past couple of days. So round 1 has nearly, or will have finished by the time that this goes out. So I've been sorting that out, and my hobby room is finally sort of up and running as I want it. So I've been working on a few future projects, and it feels good to get back.
That's very good.
It was.
What about you, Adam, or Battleline? How have you been doing?
Well, I've been actually it was half term last week, so fortunately I didn't actually get much time for the hobby, but we got much more family time. But what time I did get, we're still cracking on with Dante. We're literally just the axe left now. It's just some blending to do on the axe, and he's finished. So close to wrapping up that project.
It's looking good. I shot you a message about the gold, didn't I? I really like that recipe that you're using. It's for a TMM. I do think it's quite effective.
Yeah, it's gorgeous here, man.
Yeah, it's I've never really been able to get metallics right, so I just decided to test my knowledge of metallics and train to get better at metallics by painting bloody Dante of anything. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a challenge, but like the gold was basically just zenithaling up with 3 stages of gold, and then just different like a flesh glaze, and then like a deep shade of a warm, like an agrax or muddy brown, and then just edge highlights up. But we're getting there. We're almost there. The finish line's in sight now.
Yeah. What have I been doing? I've been taking a hobby break, to be honest. I did a bit of Dreadnought, and that's about it. Classic me doing a Dreadnought.
Hobby break does a Dreadnought.
Yeah. I was meant to be doing, there's how much of a flip-flop, like, butterfly arm. I was meant to be doing Cadians, then I did, like, a Heresy Mini, and then I moved on to a Dreadnought. And I've stopped the Dreadnought. But, like, in between all that, I was doing, like, a kitchen roll holder. It'd be nice to finish something, but I'm just having a bit of a break from everything and just reset. But yeah, new chap, Brushlikker.
Out of nowhere. Thank you. A pleasure to be here, and honor to be here, to be fair. These great names, these legends, absolute titans. I was looking at all your stuff on Instagram. I'm not much of an interactor. Mostly I just like, but it's lovely to follow all your journeys, man. And normal you've got going with the competition looks good as well.
Yeah, it's fun. I did it last year, and it was, to be fair, it's a little bit smaller this year. Last year was the kind of, I think I poked everyone and said, hey, will you join this? And I think, I got maybe I think it was like 130 entries last year, but I also pulled some sponsorship in from some brands last year. And then this year I still wanted to run the competition, but I do have another little project going on behind the scenes, that a little bit of sponsorship from a few brands. So I didn't really want to. I didn't think it felt right to ask people to then sponsor the competition again. So I'm sponsoring this one myself. So all the prizes will be funded by me. And I don't know if that's the reason why we've got less entries, but we've still got like 65 entries, I think, which is pretty good for a little small Instagram competition. And I like it. People push the boat out, and there's some pretty wacky stuff that you see. And then a few people have returned from last year, so it's good to see the same chapter, just a different model.
It's quite impressive to see, actually, that 65 entries on a competition that you organized by yourself.
Yep.
It's quite a lot, to be fair.
Yeah. The thing is, I can remember last year being like, I'm going to run this little competition, and halfway through I was like, how do I announce a winner? And obviously people have judges and whatnot, and I was like, you know what? I'd seen at the time another competition, the Soul Showdown, was going on, and I saw that he did head-to-heads, and I was like, yeah, that's a brilliant idea, not knowing that the Soul Showdown at the time just had like 20 entries because he did it. He like split it up into two. There was like a public competition, then an invitation only one. So the invitation only one had like 20 entries, and he did it as a head to head. And I was like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. And then I got 120 entries, and I was like, holy cow, I've got to do this in groups and create like realistically 60 head-to-heads, and then that's going to taper down into 30 head-to-heads. It consumed my life for about a month, but it was good fun, and people enjoyed it last year, and they're enjoying it again this year. But I've sort of learnt from my mistakes last year, and this year seems to have gone a lot smoother on the head-to-head side. So it's it won't consume it as much because I think in real terms there's just been 2 group stages. So now the winners of those stages will go through to a final group, and then it's just going to be knockout stages from that point. I would imagine the final will probably be maybe back end of next week, something like that.
And yeah, what have I been working on? I've been working on The Lion, a piece for a bestiarium competition, small one. And I'll be continuing that one on stream. But yeah, The Lion is actually, I'm really enjoying painting that model, man. I can understand why it's so popular.
It's so nice. It's just gorgeous. And I love your shield that you did. Get up on Instagram, guys, if you listen to this. But Brushlikker's shield for The Lion is gorgeous. Forgive me if it comes across as rude, but it's simple, but executed perfectly.
I'm out of here. Thank you, guys. No, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, and because I'm very, very hard on myself when it comes to compliments, so I gotta teach myself to say thank you.
I am
Appreciate
exactly the same.
That's it's fun, man. The Lion is completely done with acrylics, and the bestiarium model is actually something that I've been trying with some oil shading and stuff. So. And that's like 4 layers of paint and already looking quite good. I always forget the power of oil paints in that regard. So, yeah, that's basically what I've been up to. It's all the time I have. So
as a bit of background context, I'm the only member of this podcast without kids. So these are all hard-working dads. Yeah. But you said they're streaming, which is a good segue. To asking you about your Warhammer background. So how did you get started in the hobby, and what do you do now?
I started about 7 to 8 years ago. A friend of mine introduced me through I met him, it's an old classmate of mine. I met him I think it was in an office building. I ran into him all by chance, and he had a plastic bag with him with a scenery piece of tower sticking out of it. And we were just conversing about it. And I was like, what is that? What do you got in the bag that you're carrying? And he opened up the bag and he was showing me the scenery that he had in there. And he had one singular model in there. It was a human assassin for Warhammer Fantasy. And I asked him about it. And I remember at that moment, I was highly addicted to Warzone. And at one point, a few weeks after we had spoken, I was headed to bed late. I also was working in a hospitality business, which was also very busy. And I was lying in bed. I had just shut down the PC, and I was still running through Verdansk, the map of Warzone. I couldn't sleep because I don't know, my brain was stimulated beyond the saving at that point. And I sent him a message in the middle of the night, like, how do I get started with this? And that was, I think it was just at the point where Fantasy got burned and they started AOS, Age of Sigmar, and I immediately fell in love with the Khorne models from the starter box. I think it was like 3 Stormcast models versus 5 or 7 Khorne models. Started an army, started playing, slowly collecting, and the painting to me was always the idea of just getting an army painted as soon as possible and on the table. Get some feedback here and there, but I was very proud with like the first models that I've painted up. And then fast forward, we had like a group of friends. We played every Saturday. That was before I had kids. We started at like 12 midday and then like till 3 in the morning. I think I got like my job ended about 2 years ago, and that was with quite a conflict and lawyers and whatnot. But I had a little bit of savings, and I thought, why not try commission painting? And that was basically just factory lining stuff, and I had done so for friends in as a something that you do for friends, helping them out with painting stuff. I think I downloaded TikTok on my phone and got to like 1K followers within 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, I got a notification to start live streaming. I was like, I'm painting all day. Why not just start live streaming? And I think I started off in the beginning live streaming on TikTok. Oh man, I think it was like 6 hours a day, and just having a clip in front of me with my phone in between me and the model, which really had the model nicely in frame, and I could read chat as well. And I could look over the phone so I could actually paint. Did that, grew that account to crazy, got followers, made a Discord because people wanted to stay up to date with what I was doing. And I think a year in, one of my right-hand girl, Matasaur, told me, like, you got to get on Twitch. And I moved to Twitch last year, October. And that was also the point where I saw what people were doing with their painting, like upping it a level, and just getting introduced to the miniature painting world, like in the broad scheme of things. So, models and busts and stuff like that. And I was like, damn, I want to do that. And that's when I started upping my, or challenging myself with tutorials and trying new things and new tools and new paints. And did a workshop in Germany, non-metallic metal, by Tamer Wiederspan. I can highly recommend that to anybody. Yeah, and I'm now at 1K followers on Twitch, and I stream 3 days a week for 3 hours a time. Man, and basically my entire life at the moment revolves around miniature painting, commission painting, and all this type of stuff, man. Got to meet you and Adam both, I believe, on TikTok as well.
Yeah, you were going. I didn't want to interrupt you, but that's how I met you both through TikTok way back when. And it was just I remember, because I'm a bit dodgy with technology. That sounds wrong, but like I'm just not good at using it. But so like I was figuring out the lives, and I remember watching it, and I was like, this guy, it's something about you. You're just great for watching and listening. A great presenter. Because like 9 times out of 10, if you find a good stream, you're not really watching what people are painting. You're just listening to them or having a chat with them. But I did notice what you were painting, and like between then and now, you've just gone light years ahead in your painting. It's fantastic to see. But yeah, both of you on TikTok, me and Battleline were making memes out the wazoo. Still are, but over on Instagram now. And then you've moved over to Twitch. Like I dabble in Twitch, but I'm not a Twitch streamer, whereas you are big time, big leagues.
I wouldn't say that. I just noticed that with TikTok as well. I really enjoyed the interaction with people, and because painting can be quite especially when you're commission painting. I don't know if you know this as well, Adam, because I know of you that you do commission paint. It can be lonely. You're just sitting at your desk the entire day long. And at one point, I had finished YouTube, and I was like, okay, give me something new to watch, but there wasn't anything. And at some point, I was absolutely done with listening to Horus Heresy books, stuff like that.
I'm laughing, so this is exactly the position I'm in.
Yeah, and I can imagine that, man. It's to me at least, it became
Audible is
kind
my
of
best
detrimental. You still listen to audiobooks?
Not as much now. I've finished The End of Death and End of Death, End and Death, Part 3. So I'm kind of done with the Horus Heresy. I'm taking a break. But yeah, that basically, what you're explaining there, just sitting there listening to audiobooks, that is like life. Like, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that stuff, it doesn't do it for me, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of why I ended up creating a Discord server, and that was just I wanted a hobby hangout, just because for me, Warhammer replaced, or painting miniatures replaced online gaming, and my sort of online gaming life from the past 10 years, if you like, I've been around the same group of people almost for the past 10 years. I still talk to them every day, but I don't really game anymore. So when I sort of transferred over to Warhammer with some real life friends who have since then sort of quit, I was like, yeah, it's quite lonely sitting in here painting by yourself. And I did manage to rope my brother into the hobby. And then we started FaceTiming when we were painting Discord server. That's exactly, I suppose, a similar sort of thing to you with streaming. You want to interact with people, and it's just having some conversation. You don't feel like you're there on your own, even though there's not someone sat at the side of you. It is quite nice to have someone to talk to sometimes.
Yeah, and I myself, what I noticed with a lot of mini painting streamers on TikTok is that it's a lot about lore, it's a lot about the hobby, it's a lot about things that I'm doing on screen. But what I really enjoy is the banter with people and just making jokes and talk about stuff that is completely unrelated to like during my live streams and on TikTok as well. I would have models that I could grab and show people if they had questions in regards to the hobby. Yeah, like Stibio, you frequent the stream. Half of the time, I don't even paint.
Yeah. It's just chatting. But that's what I try and do on my streams because it's what I enjoy personally. But I suppose it's like what like finds like.
Yeah.
I think like when you said about I don't say that you're not watching part of the stream, because if I go onto Twitch now and I pick a streamer, I'm watching what they're doing. But if that person isn't sort of like engaging with the viewers, or you can't have a back and forward conversation, then I'll turn it off after a short period of time, because I'm just like, this is like quite boring. But I suppose if me and you were sat next to each other doing the hobby, of course there's going to be hobby conversation, but a lot of our conversation is going to be non-hobby related, and realistically a stream is a similar sort of thing. You're just hobbying with people from around the world, so you're going to end up talking a lot of waffle.
And you get regulars as well.
Yeah.
I always I like remembering the little details about people. For example, say someone's like, "Oh, I've got a job interview coming up," and you ask them how it went the next time you're streaming. Like, I know as a viewer, that sort of stuff makes you so happy because someone's took an interest in you, and even just retain that little bit of information. So I always like make a conscious effort to try and remember all those little details because it's just the little things, and you just try and have a conversation with people.
And I also see it like, I don't know if you guys have this as well, or if other people have this as well, but I regard the people in my chat as though I were sat in a room with people whose nicknames is basically their exterior. But I try to remind myself continuously that there's an actual human of flesh and blood sitting on the other side of this stream, and I regard them like that as well. So I'll always like remembering I was able to do that on TikTok because there were just the regulars that would chat. Nowadays I get a lot of new people in, but it's basically like the people that keep returning. At one point you start remembering like the tiny little details of them, and you grow a relationship with those people. Normally tonight I would be streaming, and it kind of felt bad to cancel it, even though I know the people will understand. It's a conscious choice for me to do. But still, like in the back of my mind, there's this knowing voice of, you left them tonight, bro.
It broke my heart. Like, we'd organised this a while back. And honestly, when you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm meant to be streaming tonight," I was like, "Oh!"
Nah, don't worry about it. That was my bad. Like, it'll not happen again. But yeah, and I don't know, man. It's also kind of addictive, the whole streaming thing. It's good to kind of throw myself out on a stage in my underwear, because everybody will look at what you're doing. And I haven't had a lot of like judging in my streams, but I don't know if you were there, Stibio, when I was trying to cut up a flag and an arm for a commission. So you start doing this on stream, and I do this with like manual tools, so I don't have like an electric saw or anything. And I start cutting the piece in between, and I knew I had to green stuff things. Like I think about the process ahead of time, but then the chat will start messing about with you and giving you banter, and it starts living its own life, and it's hilarious at that moment. And it's like on stream when I talk or during the podcast now that I talk about it, it's not that interesting, but it's like a moment where you have to be there to like experience it and be like part of that interaction.
That is what it's about, innit? Like, there's a streamer called oh my word, Brannigan's Brushes.
Yeah,
And he does a game on his stream called Marble Run, which is where the viewers can join in. And it's tradition just to say it's rigged. No matter who wins, it's rigged. And it's just little stuff like that. And it's just, it's beautiful little moments like that I just love.
yeah. And Twitch really has its own streaming culture. Like TikTok was fun to do, but you don't have a lot of options to make it very interactive. And I never watched Twitch before I started streaming on it myself. And I was really like blown away by how interactive you can make your stream. The whole Twitch story, basically what it comes down to is today I surpassed 1K followers, and I'm really happy with what's going on. It's kind of a whole journey in and of itself, discovering how to, because I've never made a secret of it, I want to try and make it like pay the bills, the commission painting, the streaming, and the building the community. I'll just keep going for as long as I can, have some savings up. And my partner is absolutely supportive of everything that I'm doing.
Nice.
Big ups, Mrs. Brush.
God damn, for sure. Yeah. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it keeps me painting. And I love developing on stream as well. But I think you're dabbling. Adam used to stream a Battleline. Norm, have you ever done anything with streaming?
To be honest with you, I did on... so obviously previously when I gamed, I did stream, hence why I think some people look at my my hobby setup and think like, what the hell has this guy got? Why has he got this rig? And the majority of it does come from my sort of previous gaming thing. But I have been debating it, not just for pure interaction with people, I'll be honest with you. There's not sort of every night that I'm hobbying, there's not always someone there to jump on Discord with. So I was like, maybe those evenings I could try my hand at streaming. So maybe you could see something happen in the near future, maybe.
Exciting.
Yeah.
One day.
That's me basically saying, yeah, it's going to happen. I'm working on it at the minute. Watch this space. Yeah, but like I say, nothing too serious or anything like that. It's more for, just not sitting here on my own. I'd rather sit here and, like you say, chat to people and not actually hobby, because that's probably what's going to happen.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's what happened to me.
I don't know if you guys find this, but so if I'm doing like sitting down doing hobbying, I've got like a podcast on or YouTube or whatever. It's like mentally refreshing for like my battery or whatever. But then I really enjoy streaming, but it drains me. Which I don't know if I'm getting it across right, but I find that it drains my battery. So I can only do about 2 hours of streaming, whereas I could literally sit there and do like 5 hours painting if I've got like a podcast on or something, if I'm not like interacting.
Yeah, but I think that's because you can shut off, can't you? And if there's not a stream, you kind of don't feel obliged to be interacting with people, and sort of as much as anyone says like, I'm just going to stream what I'm doing, and yeah, people make the decision to watch or not. Subconsciously, you still want to make it entertaining, and you're still wanting to talk to people. It's not like you're sitting there ignoring them, and they're just coming on to watch what you're doing. So I get what you're saying. You can't really... I think when you're streaming, you kind of don't shut off, or you can't really shut off. Or if you do, then it's going to probably be a pretty poor stream.
Yeah, no comment about some.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, you'll go on to... like, sometimes I'll go onto Twitch and I'll scroll down and I'll think, let's see what this guy's doing. And he'll be painting something. Yeah, he's got the camera, you can see him for 15 minutes. He hasn't once looked at what anyone is like sort of doing interaction wise. And I just think at that point, well, obviously, yes, people appreciate skill on a stream, like watching someone paint something in a particular way, or trying to learn something. But ultimately, your personality does shine on a stream, and you kind of have to interact. Because if you don't, then what makes you any different to the next person that's painting well, sort of thing?
Yeah. Like, I don't want to do a hot take about Twitches in general, but let's go for it anyway. But for me personally, like obviously different people get different things, but I either watch the stream because they are literally one of the best painters in the world, multiple Golden Demon winner. Like I don't really care what they're saying, and most often they don't talk to the chat because the chat's got about 800 people in, and they are painting this absolutely insane model. But I'll watch that for about half an hour tops. But the streams that I go back to and I'll sit in and I'll sit for hours and I'll make an effort to go and sit and watch them, like Brushlikker or Brannigan, for example, is that interaction. It's like a podcast. It's like a conversation. And I can just sit in chats and be a little idiot. So I tend to find that if people just don't get on with me being silly, because I'm not like abusive, but I'm just a little bit silly in chat. And I find if people get on with that, then I'm like, yeah, this person's for me. This is going to be a good stream. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the banter and the bashing is what makes it fun for me, at least. Like you have to I feel like it's kind of like a social boxing match half of the time between the streamer and the chat. And it's absolutely lovely when chat starts going on one another and on the streamer, and the streamer goes on both parties in chat, and then like this for me, this perfect storm of entertainment and interaction happens where everybody's just having a good time. And when that happens in chat, that's when in the beginning, when people were were jumping into chat and they'd ask, "What did I miss?" I found that such a peculiar question because I don't think like that. Like if I want to watch a stream, I watch a stream. But after a bunch of times that has happened, I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand that question now. Like if you really want to be a part of that community and you like to interact and be a part of that, I love it when you're in chat, man. You always give me that sort of fuel. I bounce off of you so nicely with the banter and the interactions.
I love that I can type anything and you'll just speak it out. I'll just say random stuff in like Spanish or whatever, and you'll just say it.
Yeah, I feel like that's the amazing thing, and I feel the same way about what you guys said. Like there's like one or two like absolutely insane painters. Marco Frizzoni, for instance, he also interacts a lot, but sometimes when he like locks in, he'll be just quiet. But I love to put him in the background because he's very wholesome and he interacts on a very serious level. But a friend of mine once told me, like, I really enjoy watching your painting streams because the majority of them is just a bunch of bald heads towards a camera and a mini on screen, and that's sometimes there's some heavy breathing in there as well. And it's not to like particular painters, but yeah, I feel like everybody has their preference in mini painting, and I feel like this goes for the majority of streamers out there. I wouldn't enjoy anybody, just, I don't know, checking their phone half of the time or breathing into the microphone loudly or genuinely fighting with their chat. What were you going to say, Norm? Sorry,
I was going to say, how many, what sort of views are you getting on you say you stream for about 3 hours? Yeah,
about 3 hours.
How many views are you getting in the sort of 3 hour window?
Half of the time now I'm peaking at like 36, 40. And I'm now looking for ways to have chat in front of me to keep up with what is being said. So
get a tablet. Sorry, I was trying not to cough. Pineapples. Yeah, get a tablet. I've got a cheap. It was like £90, like a really cheap Android tablet, and that's why I have Stibio 3. Just watch your stream on the tablet, and it's got the chat going. So have it right in front of you, and then you can read the chat going. That's what I do. I find it so helpful because then you don't have to move your head away from what you're doing. You can just look up and read the chat.
Yeah. The only thing with me now is that I have my face cam, and when I put the so my only issue now is that I have my camera set up and my lights in such a position that if I put my face cam in front of me, you'll basically be blinded by the lights. So I'm kind of looking for a way to have everything the way I have it now, but for a proper viewing experience as well. For some reason, part of my brand is now my ponytail and my beard. So that's the only thing that I'm running into. But I feel like I'm kind of getting there. I've just moved my monitor a bit closer and have the webcam in front of it to actually have it show like I'm looking at you when I'm responding to chat. Yeah, and I really what you said, Norm, about the competition that you did is just doing it, and I resonate with that so well. And the same with the podcast with Stibio. When he told me like, yeah, I want to do a podcast, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do at the end of next year. By this time, we're gonna have 12 or 13. And otherwise,
Straight
I'm
up.
not game.
I think you have to do, otherwise. I mean, I'm my own worst enemy at that type of thing. To be honest with you, I've been starting a YouTube channel since April. It's just because I do that thing where I tell myself, right, I need this, and once I've got that, then I'll do it. And then I get to that. I'm just a perfectionist, and you just can't be like that. You need to just do it, and once you do it, then try and this isn't just about, and like, you should use this advice for pretty much everything in life. If you want to do something, do it and then try and improve. Don't try and achieve perfection before you even start. Like, just otherwise you just take forever, and it's time wasting that you could be getting better at doing what you want to do in the first place.
It's funny. Me and you seem to have the same end result, but for completely different reasons. Because I'll see something shiny and I'll just wander off. Like, it was, I mean, Twitch, it wasn't my fault. My laptop exploded. But then, it took me the time to get a new PC and blah, 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 blah. But like, with the projects and stuff that I'm trying to do for the socials stuff and my own personal hobby, I'll just boop, I'm doing the next thing, boop, do the next thing, oop, next thing. And like, I have to like go back on my page and delete stuff because I've been like doing work in progress stuff, and I've just completely like, that project's not getting touched again. I just go back and delete. So I'm sure people have been like, I'm sure he was working on this thing, but there's no evidence of it. But yeah, I feel you. Different reasons, but same end result.
Yeah, but I feel, at least for myself, like I've been entrepreneurial almost my entire life, but I feel like mini painting to me has really made it tangible, because you work on something that you will always see the progression that you've done. And like, a lot of life is very like etheric, and you can't really touch any of the progress that you've made. But a mini you can always grab, and if you have any pictures, you look at it and you're like, okay, yeah, this is me a year ago. And then you grab another mini that you did like last week, and you're like, damn, if I put these next to one another, I've really grown. I hear you say that you delete certain stuff, and I am, unless you, I don't know, pull your pants off on a stream or a picture, I feel like you need to keep that stuff online.
I don't know. It's good to see the progress of certain stuff, and certain stuff, it's a bad reminder of my flip-flopping. So there's always the advice to give people who start the hobby, like, don't get rid of your first model. It might look awful, but keep it. But then, I don't know, I think I beat myself, like, what is it, self-flagellation? Like, oh, you started this one, you can't even finish that, and, get in a bad headspace. So that's sort of my self-prune. But there's all sorts, like, I left up, like, my Thunderhawk project. Like, I was, for like an entire year, I was like,
I remember that.
I'm saving up for this Thunderhawk. And like, I scrimped and saved, and I got the money together. I got the Thunderhawk, and I opened the box, chopped off the gates, and was like, I can't do this. This is not a project for now. Life's too much. But I've got it all ready for next year. Like, it's only been sat in the box for a whole year, but I will start on that next year.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have proof. 1st of January, bash him and start sending him DMs about the Thunderhawk.
People do that, like, they'll be like, are you going to finish this project? I'm like,
I
really?
didn't actually.
Yeah.
You know what? I was thinking about that the other day, because I was like, I was sure that you got one, and then I was like, did I make that up, or am I thinking of someone else? And then you definitely had. So I'm glad that we've clarified this, because I was thinking, nah, if he got one, that would have definitely been up. Yeah, you've proved me wrong.
I'm going to get it out there, solid evidence on the internet. 2025, I will be finishing a Thunderhawk. It'll be fully finished. A Thunderhawk diorama. and the paint scheme will be like the game Space Marine 2.
I think I need to
Nice.
switch pants, man. Just a sheer idea. Have you checked for warping?
No, I was missing one head or something. No, it was like throttle, and yeah, otherwise it's just a bit warped, but it just needs a bit of hot water. So thankfully, apart from a missing piece, it was all good.
Yeah, I was surprised, to be fair. I bought one of the Middle Earth minis a couple of weeks ago, and I started faffing around with it this week. Obviously, it's resin, and it's crazy. I just can't get over how, like, the detail's nice, but this thing fits together so poorly. There's so many gaps that are going to need to be filled. And when I first got it out, I was like, yeah, this is nice. This is going to go together quite nicely. And then when I actually came to glue the thing together and looked at it, I was like, wow, this is a lot more work than I had initially intended to do.
Yeah, imagine that with like
Yeah,
5
that's
kilos
what I
of
mean.
resin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, I'll not redact, but just slightly amend what I was saying. I'm not saying the kit is in good condition for what the price you pay for it. Like, the pieces aren't warped. That should be a given. Like, I shouldn't be going, oh yeah, it's great. The pieces aren't warped. But like, they don't fit together properly. There's so much sanding to do. I've got to pin everything and all. It's a lot of work. It's going to need, like, I need to get like a massive acrylic rod to get it flying. I need to put like internal bracing in. I need to pin stuff, magnetize stuff.
You're gonna put it up in the sky?
It's going to be flying.
God, what a challenge! But like that resin weighs like I don't know, the weight of a child at 9 or 10.
It's about, I think, so the box is about 5 kilos, but I think the actual thing's 2.5 kilos. But it's
So, are you going to try and hollow it out a bit?
so I don't even need to hollow it out. It's already
Jeez.
got the interior, but I just
Right.
need to put rods going through it to secure it together, and then I'm going to put a brass plate on the inside that then the acrylic rod can sort of
Yeah.
butt up against.
Yeah.
But I'll be soldering brass rods onto the brass plate to sort of, it's hard to describe, but imagine like a table with table legs. So the legs are going to go into the resin and get glued with epoxy resin. And then that flat plate, then the acrylic rod can sort of butt up against it. And it just distributes the weight around. So it's not all the weight of this Thunderhawk on that one spot and it goes boof and explodes.
Honestly, I know why you're putting it off because that sounds like something way, way above my building grade. And that is one hell of a task.
Yeah, without getting into it, life was a bit crazy. So I was just like, this is not a project for now. But yeah, like, what am I doing now? Like, with my Dreadnought, like, that's a bit of a crazy conversion, but that's like nothing compared to a Thunderhawk. But, I mean, so that was another thing that I did, like, flip-flopping with. Is like, I started this project months and months and months ago, where because there's always a meme going around that Castroferrum Dreadnoughts, box dreads, don't have knees. They do have knees. And I was like, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna cut it up and I'm gonna bend its knee just to prove that they've got knees. And then I repositioned its arm as well. In the old Epic 40k, there's little dreadnoughts. One of them has got its arm pointing directly out to the side. So I did that with the big one. But even that was a bit of a crazy little project because you got to like reposition the pipes, make sure you don't cut anything that you can't replace. But yeah, I love all that sort of stuff.
So
I'm
there we
looking
go.
forward to
2025.
to seeing you work on a Stormhawk. Having seen your other work, it's gonna be lovely.
Yeah, it's just like I did the Storm Raven diorama for Golden Demon. Bit of a tangent. Oh my word! But like, I went Golden Demon. Like, I'm very self-deprecating as a person, but I wasn't expecting. I know people say it, but I genuinely wasn't expecting. I genuinely wasn't expecting anything. And I got a finalist pin, and I was there with Mrs. Stibio, and when I saw it in the cabinet, I like full on started crying. I was just overwhelmed, and I was like, absolute childhood dream. Because like, as a kid, I used to flip through the White Dwarf magazines and like the Golden Demon stuff, and I just imagined like, oh man, imagine painting like that. And yeah, fast forward 20 years and magical, absolutely magical. But yeah, blah tangent. Thunderhawk diorama, very similar to the Storm Raven, but hopefully my landscape skills have got a bit better. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. So, Brushlikker and everyone else, what is your favourite Warhammer faction and units? Well, I'll start then, lads. All right. Ultramarines, best
Really?
unit, Dreadnoughts.
You're lying.
Give me the blue boys.
In all honesty, Stibio, when I found your account on TikTok, I thought your account was like full on memery, including the whole Ultramarine fanboy stuff. I can take it over from there because my favorite faction is. I'm not
Ultramarines, weirdly enough.
No, never, ever. Like I'm chaos at heart, so anything I do chaos. But I play more Age of Sigmar than I do 40k. I've actually played 4 games of 40k in my entire life. But I have I think by now 17,000 point army of Slaves to Darkness for Age of Sigmar.
Wow.
I just have 2 armies at the moment.
We took a group picture.
No. It's not all painted. Like I have all the models, most of them built. But I started off with Khorne, and then for my birthday I got Archeon as a model, which is like the big baddie of Slaves to Darkness.
Is he the one with the different heads on the dragon?
The 3-headed dragon, yeah.
Dude, yeah.
So good.
And
I've got one of those in my cupboard. I'm sitting on it. I'm just so scared to build and paint it. It's so intimidating.
you should do it, man. It's a super fun model to work on. I've painted him 3 times now, 2 for commissions and 1 for myself.
Oh my
And
word!
It's really a fun model to play with, both paint and on the tabletop. But I just it's such an iconic model to me, man. And if he moves across the tabletop, like if you field him at a game, if people aren't tournament players, they always get intimidated by it. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of embodies the entire idea of Slaves to Darkness to me. So yeah, that's my jam.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go Sigmar too, to be honest with you. I'm not I'm much more of a fantasy guy than a sort of sci-fi, if you like. But I would say if I was to look at if you told me I could only paint sort of one army or something like that, I think I'd probably go Stormcast.
Classic. The Ultramarines of Age of Sigmar.
Basically. But
I do have to say, man, their new range, the
Yeah,
new models that
They are so good.
God, they're so well designed.
I reckon I could answer Adams for himself. Blood Angels, Thousand
Yeah.
Suns.
No, I'd say my favourite faction has to be Tau.
We're retching over here.
Oh,
It's got to be Blood Angels.
Blood
I'm
Angels. Are
sorry.
just beautiful, aren't
Okay, I like Tau for the memery, okay?
I used to collect Tau when I was
Yeah.
like 13. I have very vivid memories of being in the Warhammer shop in Southport, and they were playing the Black Parade album on repeat as I was painting up Tau. Like, it's one of my strongest hobby memories. Is just Black Parade, Tau, Southport Warhammer shop, which is now closed. But yeah, otherwise, Tower. I mean, you know what? Memes aside, whatever makes you happy.
You can. I was going to say, you can cut this bit out if I say their models are actually quite cool, right?
I'm going to edit it. So
You can
just
cut it
keep
out,
saying,
right?
these models are the worst.
Edit it so I'll say, Tau, models are cool. I mean, no, I do like their range.
I do have to say though, I mess about with it all the time as well. But in all honesty, I feel like some of the memes have really, I don't know, taken grasp of certain factions in a way that I feel like the whole Sigmarine thing with the Stormcast Terminals, for example. I feel it's just, yeah, I don't know, man.
There's literally, I was just
doesn't
about to
feel
say,
right.
yeah. So obviously, I paint Ultramarines, and now there's a difference between a little cheeky, but some people get so angry.
Yeah.
I'm in a bit of a weird position that, I paint relatively to a sort of a smaller audience, and I put out memes to a much insanely bigger audience. So it's like last month was 12 million views, for example.
Crazy.
99% of that was memes. So if you put the 1% of that, you're like, 1%, but that's still 100,000, I think. Quick maths. So that's still like, I'm so happy with that. I still get so much interaction, conversation. I get everything I want out of the hobby. But then you're going out to that many people. Just as context, I'm not trying to brag. It's context for the reach. It's the reach. And so people will get so angry. They will like, so I have to delete so many comments. And if you look at the comments and stuff that I've left, it gives you the examples of the ones that I've had to delete. But like, oh my word, like people get so angry about Tau. They get so angry about Ultramarines. It's like, where are you getting this from? Why are you this angry about it? It's a meme. Oh yeah, Matt Ward back in 4th edition messed up a codex. You probably weren't even in the hobby back then, and it doesn't even affect it now. Why are you so angry about this? It's a game. It's a little plastic toy. Like, why? I don't understand why people get so riled up about this. Like they'll comment on the Space Marine 2 videos being like, this game is horrific. Why they got Ultramarines in? It's a disgrace to the hobby. It's like, what? Get a grip. Oh man. I'm on my high horse. I'll get off my high horse.
Yeah. You say that, but I can remember when I pulled my mates, like, I say back into the hobby, my like sort of real life friends had never done it before, and we went to the Warhammer show, and one of my friends did sort of pick Tau as his sort of choice, and the guy who worked at GW gave him his fair amount of sort of stick for picking Tau, and I'm like, really?
They're meant to be selling them.
Yeah, I know.
I've gone in multiple times, and they always do hit you with the, so what are you working on?
Yeah, obviously.
I'm painting up an Ultramarine Dreadnought, and like, Ultramarines? It's like, you're meant to be selling the stuff. Sorry, I'll get off my high horse. I'm getting a bit defensive because they're my babies. Do you know why I picked Ultramarines? I just love the colour Ultramarine blue. And like, that's it.
Is that genuinely? Is that the genuine, like the love for the color?
Yeah, I could bang on about Ultramarine blue for ages. In the past, it was made with a very rare mineral, lapis lazuli, ground down. And then back in like the 18th century,
Let me interrupt you for a quick moment. Norm, Adam, you notice how we didn't ask him anything?
Yeah. He's got this ready, and he's just got the script in front.
I mean, I heard lapis lazuli, and I just went straight to Minecraft.
Honestly, I love getting big blocks of it in Minecraft because I just love it. I've got lapis at home as well. It's a beautiful stone. I've also got like proper ultramarine blue made with lapis powder, but I love the color.
He doesn't go to Games Workshop for his paints anymore. He just grinds the stone.
You jest, but I've done that with oil paints. I've got all the stuff to make it with oil paints.
That's so cool, man. I respect that. I respect that hustle.
So yeah, I don't really do that sort of stuff anymore. But yeah, ultramarine blue. It was like this super expensive, super beautiful color, and it would stay color fast, so it wouldn't degrade in the light. So the only times they'd use the color was like pictures of the Virgin Mary or like super, super rich people's paintings. And then back in the 18th century, some French scientist was like, boom, I've made it artificial. Exactly the same chemically, but not like, all this expense to it. And then it was used everywhere. Long story short, it's a beautiful colour. And when I was a kid, before I knew any of that, I was like, ultramarine blue, it's called ultramarine blue because they're ultramarines. And then when I grew up, I was like, hang on a minute, it's called ultramarine blue because they're called ultramarines because of ultramarine blue. And it just blew my little mind. Yeah, gorgeous.
You're so knowledgeable about this, man. I would have never expected this.
I love how it was like, long story short, and then we got another tangent of description of ultramarine blue.
Honestly,
have you still got like the fact sheet in front of you with some other stuff we need to know?
I have a proper passion for pigments and paints. I absolutely love paint. There's a great book called Chromotopia, and it's all about the history of pigments and like the usage and like the first paints people made and how it's evolved into like acrylics and stuff. But I love it. It's like you get all the like burnt sienna, burnt umber, they're all like earth colours, and then they burn them and it makes them darker. It'll change the hue. It's just, I love it. I could bang on about that for days. I love paint.
Next time on the Imperial Brush, Stibio spends the next hour talking about pigments.
Sorry, I've gone on a massive tangent about paint.
People are going to tune into that episode and be like, hey, why is there no guests on this one? It's just Stibio.
It's me and an echo. You're now on the 8th hour of me talking about iron pigments. Honestly, I went a bit mad. Oh, God, this is the last... So, Gamblin, which is a oil paint manufacturer over in America, they did this thing where... So a lot of paints are pigments from iron, because when it changes its oxidation state, it's got all different colour properties. But they've got a lot of toxic waste over in America, and they did this thing where they like got some of this toxic waste and like turned it into paint. So I've got some of those tubes, and they're really good for weathering. But I'm worried about the day if anyone ever asks me like, "But what paint did you use?" And I'll be like, "So it's this limited edition oil paint from toxic waste, but it's just like a beautiful purple colour, like gorgeous." Yeah, I'll shut up about paint now. So brush.
What's your favourite paint?
What is your favourite paint?
My favorite paint, man, I don't really have a favorite, man. Every range has its specific ones. But I do gotta say, though, since my name is Brushlikker, obviously, Uptiling 502 paints, acrylics, tasty, very zesty, lemony taste to it.
A man of culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, contrasts are disgusting.
Two thin coats have a nice earthy flavour.
I've never really tried them.
I think it's their wash. Oh, what
Very
is the flavour?
Moorish.
I'm going to have to run upstairs to grab a wash to taste the flavour now.
No, but do you guys, like the question though, do you guys have like a specific paint range that you pick over anything, or do you have specific colors from ranges that you will use over anything else? Because I do gotta say though, if I have to pick a range, and I've not tried them all, obviously, I'm not that rich, but I've bought golden so flats. If I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with those, the acrylic ones. My God, those are so lovely.
I think it's just like it's personal, isn't it? Because there's a lot of I think I said this last time. There's a lot of people who stand up on their soapbox and say, "You must use this paint," but it's what the best paint for you is. Like I use a mix of Citadel, Two Thin Coats, EK, Vallejo, Ammo, but I think like 90% of Citadel, Two Thin Coats, and then I use the odd paint from other ranges that just does the right little thing I need it for. Yeah, what's best for you is the best for you. Same with brushes, isn't it?
Yep.
I feel like that. Like if you spend the money on it, do whatever you want. There's not like I will say here and now for the record, there is not one paint range that is the best. That doesn't exist. I feel like a lot of the paints that you can grab, like white from Citadel, everybody avoids it basically.
Trash.
Yeah. What is it? Metallics from Vallejo. I do not use them. I do not like them. Well, a lot of other colors from Vallejo I love. Two Thin Coats, a bunch of the colors are really vibrant. I do have to say, though, their consistency is very much good overall.
Yes.
I don't know about their metallics, though. I've never used those.
So
Here we go.
Have you guys heard of Ultramarine Blue?
Just about to say, I'll let Stibio answer this one.
Well, we're going to get to his second favourite colour now, let me tell you.
Cerakote Silver. People like, I love Two Thin Coats, but like, don't buy the whole set. Like, unless you're made of money, don't just drop all that money on a whole set of paints. But if you're going to get one paint, get Cerakote Silver. It is the best silver I've ever used. And the paint's so thick as well. Like, you can thin it down. It goes forever. Like, I've had this one bottle since... So I support the Kickstarter. I've got all of the range 1 and 2. It's amazing paint. Yeah, Two Thin Coats, Cerakote Silver. Slap that on. Bit of a wash over it. Beautiful. And then you can highlight it up if you want, but most of the time I just leave it as is. And it works really well with like a nice oil wash. There's another really good product, which is oil brushes. It's like Brush Airs, not Brush S, but it's from Ammo by MIG, and it's basically oil paint in a mascara bottle. But a lot of the faff with oil paints is you get it in the tube, you've got to put it on like a glass palette or a tile, then you've got to mix it to the right amount. You maybe got to add some thinner, some medium. But these oil brushes are like in a. I've just
like
said
a
the
little
word.
tube, isn't it?
Yeah,
like-
mascara tube. It's a mascara tube, but with a paintbrush at the end instead of like an eye brush, eyelash thing. So literally, you can just dab a little bit on the model, or you can dab a little bit in like a palette well and dilute it, and it's just so easy to use. It's no faff of oil paints. So all you need is oil
It's
brushes and some
so
enamel
convenient.
thinner. It's just life. Spens painting on Instagram got me onto them, and beautiful, gorgeous.
I only have I have like I think it's titanium white or something like that, and I'd got that from, I think I was once following a OSL tutorial from El Miniaturista.
I can never pronounce that word.
Yeah, well, if I pronounced it wrong, so what? But no, on his tutorial, because obviously when he'll thin it down and then let it flow into the recesses and whatnot. And same sort of thing that you're saying. They're very, very easy to use.
That's a little bit of a social media trickery, I think, with those videos, though, because once it dries, it doesn't look as bright. Because I've done that technique. I did it on my librarian. I basically just followed what he did and then did it on my librarian. And then I had to go. I found what was better was actually white ink. So I did that white oil brusher thing, which then the bleeding was good. It bled into the surrounding paint. And then over top of that, really carefully, I put white ink in. And that, gorgeous. It did like the whitest white possible. But yeah, once it dries, it doesn't, because you have to thin it enough that it flows. And then because you thin it enough that it flows, it doesn't dry as bright.
Yeah.
But they've got a beautiful colour called Starship Filth, which is like a bit of an off grey. And that's really good for weathering. And then I tend to paint all my bases now with like rust and dirt from that range. It's just love them. I've sort of banged on. I need to stop banging on.
I mean, you're passionate about it. You should be.
I'm just passionate about paint.
Yeah, as you should. I did start off the whole priming stuff and easily flowing paints with what is this, like AK? No, or MIG? AK or MIG?
Oh, is
like
it
grime enamels?
Streaking Grime?
Yeah. It's so easy to use, man. If you get over that, like oil paints and all that stuff, all of it is so easy to use. I don't understand why I held back when I started using them, but the reductionary way of painting is such a, man, it's so nice, to be fair. You can get effects so quickly.
There's an account Spens Painting on Instagram.
Just hit him a follow, yeah.
He's a perfect example of this. Like, it's super simple but executed perfectly. So it'll just like slap a couple of, I know it's simplifying, slap a couple of colours on with an airbrush and then whack the oil paints on and then do the weathering. And it makes such a beautiful effect. Like, he did this Dreadnought for Golden Demon a couple of years back. Absolutely stunning. It's just simple techniques but executed perfectly. And yeah, big up Spens.
I'm just looking at that model that you were talking about on his. It's pinned on his profile. It's really nice. The
Gorgeous.
weathering painted on as well. Yeah, it's really good.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, if you're afraid of doing oil paints, dear listener, or anything like enamels, whatever, do it.
Give it a
Makes your
go.
life a lot easier. Yeah.
It's a bit like what I was saying last time about like the wet palette. Like, I was like, oh, it's a professional thing. It's what the pros use. Just get an oil brusher. It's like £3. Enamel thinner. It's like £3. And just have a play around. Go to Home Bargains. Get yourself some white spirit. Because you can't wash oil paints off in water. You've got to use white spirit. Or turpentine or odorless thinner. Wash it off in a bit of that. It's super cheap, super simple. Or just get like a really cheap tube of oil paint. Like Winsor & Newton. Go like the Range or your local, what's the one, Hobbycraft. They're a bit expensive, don't go there. But yeah, it's dead easy to get started with oil paints. And just play. Just have a play.
Norm, do you use oil paints?
You know what? I have sort of messed it. Like I say, I've messed around with them for some little OSL bits that I was trying, and I haven't actually got around to doing this yet, but just going back to streaking grime, I got a Maw Crusher and I started following one of Vince Ventrella's sort of how to paint big monster guides, and he does a similar sort of thing. He essentially goes at it with an airbrush to create some nice sort of contrasting tones, and then he runs streaking grime straight through the airbrush, and I mean cakes this model, and then just goes at it then with the White Spirit or whatever it is with some like makeup applicator pads just to take off like all the thickest part, and it's a really, really solid model when he's finished. Obviously, after that, he then goes in and starts to finish all the details, putting the highlight on the horns and whatnot. But it's something that's still on my to-do list. The model is sort of, what stage is it at? It's got all the sort of foundation colours on it. I just haven't got past that point yet, just because I was on with another project. But it is something.
2025.
2020, that's when it's going to, and it probably will be 2025 to be fair, but it is going to get finished. I was looking at it the other day and thinking, yeah, it's already looking quite nice, and I think it'll look decent if I follow on from that. I just did that thing where I was like, I've got one airbrush, and I don't know why, I probably scared myself thinking, is this all right to run this stuff through the airbrush? But obviously it is. I just have to give it a good clean afterwards.
Yeah, you've got a ventilator though, wouldn't you? Don't you?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't ever do that because I don't spray with a ventilator. So you'd get like white spirit fumes everywhere.
Norm, what's your favorite paint range? Do you have any?
I think we kind of touched on this last time. I don't have a favourite paint range because I think that different paint ranges do stuff better than others. So I probably do pull from, like, I would AK Citadel, and I have quite a few of the Fanatic range. And I would say that the majority of, unless I see, I've got a few different ones, but it's mostly that's been from, if like I've seen a tutorial that said they've done it with this specific paint, and I think in the early days I was like, right, I need that specific paint. I can't do this with a alternative from a different brand. So I do have a good mix. Like I have some Vallejo and whatnot, but I couldn't say to you that I have a favourite paint brand, just because I think that I've used paints from every brand where I've been like, yeah, this is absolute garbage, and other brands do it better.
Very nice.
What's your favorite paint range, Adam?
I'm probably going to go against the grain here and say I do have a favourite range. It may or may not be biased, but it's two thin coats.
Yeah, buddy.
I just...
Yeah, they are good, man.
I think it's just, all their paints are so consistent over the whole range. Yeah, like any paint range, there's some of the outliers that either they don't have as great of coverage as others, but from the majority of them that I've used, I've had no issues with. So yeah, I'd probably shout for them. But like you said, I fill in gaps with other things. Like I do have Citadel paint still. I do have some Vallejo. I do really like it's the old Army Painter wash. I think it's the strong tone or the dark tone, but it's like it's a weird mix of non-oil and Agrax like built into one. I really like that wash. I think like on metallics, it's really nice. Over Cerakote silver,
So good. Yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying about two thin coats. Like they are so consistent, and it's basically just Citadel with all the flaws removed. Like they're in dropper bottles. They dry matte. They are consistent. The white isn't cottage cheese. We've got a question of the week from last time. So one of our listeners, Ed, was, what is your favourite model you've painted and why? So you know what, I'll get the ball rolling. I did a Dreadnought conversion where I converted a Brutalis Dreadnought into a sort of like a massive Castroferran pattern, and I painted it up, and I put so much time and effort into it. That's probably my favourite. Or it's another Dreadnought I painted with a little Tyranid's head on its base. I just love Dreadnoughts. So I don't know if my bias is because I love Dreadnoughts or I think it's the best painting I've done. but maybe it's the joy of loving dreadnoughts that much that I put more effort into painting. But yeah, that's my favourite. Either big Castrofraran with flag or little Castrofraran with Tyranid head brush.
It's a difficult question. Favorite model that I've painted and why? I'm really, really enjoying currently painting Tolgar Split Eye, which was a limited release from GW. It's one of those barbarians for Slaves to Darkness, and I'm basically applying everything to it to the max of my knowledge, and I'm using it as a practice piece basically to join in on competitions next year. So I feel like this is, to me, is like a benchmark model.
Is that the one you've done with the yellow non-metallic metal?
Yeah, which should be gold, but it ended up a little bit yellow. Yeah, but everything is
gorgeous.
Everything is just non-metallic metal, and I'm just really enjoying it and doing it. I think I've exclusively painted it on stream as well. Yeah, I don't know, man. The skin is coming out nice. The axes, all the metallics, the leather. I'm applying a lot of stippling and striping and glazing. I wouldn't say like next level techniques, but trying to get beyond that. Okay, I'm just gonna slap lead belcher on it and then some shade and then build it up again. But yeah, the model is absolutely. I think the model in and of itself is just like non-GW good, even though it's from GW. It has everything: skin, metal, leather. I like the challenge, man. Yeah.
If you'd paid me 50 grand, I never would have been able to name that model you were painting. It is gorgeous. Like their Age of Sigmar sculpts are gorgeous. But for some reason, the lore, the names, the ranges just don't stick in my head. Whereas like 40k, I could name you almost every model. But so in my head, it's just that beautiful non-metallic metal model that you're painting. Like,
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, sorry. Norm, what is your favourite model you've painted?
So for me, it's not actually a model. Well, it is a model, but it's not actually a whole model. I've obviously not been back in the hobby that long, and I would say let's say the reason that it's the favourite is just because it's the most fun that I've had was where I thought, right, I'm going to try and have an attempt at painting one of these Space Marine heads tiny in crazy detail after seeing Jujiko do it. And
yes,
yeah, it was just one of those where obviously I started speaking to Josh and I was like, how the hell are you painting these Space Marine heads with like the detail that you're painting? And then we ended up having a good chat about it and a good laugh because he's basically painting them with a Hubble telescope. And I was like, I think he kind of, again, this is the type of person I am. He was like, it's you've got to basically create these magnifying glasses. You can't buy them, and it's a bit faffy to do it. And I was like, all right, can you tell me what I need to buy? And then he told me what I need to buy, and like 3 days later, I sent him a message, and I was like, is that how you do it? And he's like, oh my God, that's like the first person that I've actually told what I do and has actually made these things. And honestly, I'll show you a picture later, but they look quite wacky when they're on your face. And I think it's the first time that I've actually painted with kind of seeing what someone else does and then that person saying, so this is the method. And I did it. And after doing it, I looked at it and thought, you know what? That's pretty good. And I haven't actually finished it yet, just because obviously I ended up changing the hobby room round. But I did message him last week to say, hobby room's back on. I want to jump back on some tiny face painting. But this, I would say, since getting back into the hobby, that I know it's quite weird because it's just a tiny Space Marine head, but I think that has been the thing that's given me the most enjoyment to paint, and it's purely because nothing's really gone wrong on it, and really, you have to look at it under magnification to sort of appreciate the detail that's in it. If you look at it with the naked eye, it realistically it just looks like it's very well blended. Whereas if you look under the super zoomers, as we jokingly call them, you can see that. So the way that Josh paints is he kind of paints like a portrait painter, but onto a Space Marine head, which he's taking his photos with it's actually a microscope lens. Whereas when I took a photo of the one that I'd sort of done the work in progress on, it was just on like a macro lens on my DSLR that has some crazy zoom on it. It was one that was designed for taking pictures of insects and whatnot. But I think that is, well, it is something I'm going to finish it, but I also want to. I've just bought the Scouts kill team, and I'm going to try and just do a neat job on everything. But when it comes to the heads, I kind of want to go full super zoomers and go crazy on them, just purely because of how much enjoyment I got out of that one head.
The name escapes me, but Golden Demon multi-winner Eric, is it Swinson?
Swinson, yeah.
Yeah, he's just done that. It was a couple of months ago now, but he's just done that Scout set, and
yeah, so that's what. To be honest with you, I started painting the heads with Josh, and then I think it might have been you, to be fair, when he released. Oh no, it wasn't actually. It was Dark Peak Minis sent me the video over Instagram saying, "Oh, Eric Swinson's just released this video of him painting heads," and he was like, "It's stupid how fast he is painting heads to that standard." And I can remember watching
it's
it.
insane. It's like 40
what
minutes.
The hell?
It's 40 minutes ahead, and it's like it's like my face. It's like a head.
They're like full Golden Demon winning heads.
It just yeah.
But no, that to be honest with you, that is the reason why I ended up. So me, my brother, and the first man named Dave, we all said, "Oh, we'll get a kill team each and we'll paint them up." We don't live too far from each other, so we said maybe we'll end up meeting up at. We've got like a local store that's in the middle of us all that we could possibly play, and that's what basically inspired me to buy that particular kill team was Eric Swinson's Scouts. They look insane. And it's one of those that I always find this with Instagram, if you like, where I think you look at a lot of people's work and think, that is perfect. But if you painted it, you wouldn't think it was perfect. And it's just because you obviously criticize your own work a lot more.
Yeah.
Whereas I think so like those Scouts, for example, I can remember looking at those and being like, that is literally perfect. And although it's still a much better paint job than what I can do, if you actually zoom in on it, the face is the focal point, which is perfect, and that's what your eye is drawn to straight away. But like he even says in that video where he's painting them up, he says like, yeah, these are not getting painted to Golden Demon standard. Like the heads maybe are, but the rest of them aren't. And you can see that there's certain points that definitely could be improved, if you like, but the focal points he's absolutely smashed, and it makes them look crazy. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm probably going to murder them.
It's a thing I'll get onto on another episode, but like learn how to paint lenses as best you can. Learn how to paint purity seals as best you can. Those little details.
Yeah.
When they pop, you don't notice all the other stuff.
No. Draw your eye to that stuff.
Battleline minis. What is your favourite mini you've painted and why?
Hello. I want to say Dante just because it's pushed me like further than I thought I could paint. But my heart always goes back to the mini or the 10mm Chaos Lord I painted.
Yeah,
oh yeah, that's such a good one, man.
Award-winning.
I'm bringing up a picture of it. I don't know why, because you can't see it. But yeah. I think it was my first like true crack at painting the whole model with non-metallics, and for some insane reason, I decided to do it on a miniature that's the size of like a penny, so it's 10mm in height. I've got to give a shout out to Rock Minis, the people who made them, because like the sculpt for the detail of the sculpt for the scale is incredible. Like it's so sharp details. The first time I saw them at one of the like Warhammer wargaming events, I was like, how? Because they are, yeah, they're just so small. I can't comprehend how you can get such a detailed miniature in such a small package. But yeah, I think it's going to be that for me. And obviously taking it to Fen Model Show and winning the bronze, that's kind of cemented it as like
Award-winning.
my first award-winning model. So it's like it's got a special place in my heart, and it stays like front and center in my display cabinet now.
I was
So
so
I'm-
happy for
yeah,
you.
it's constantly a model I look over to.
Well, I'll wrap up the episode because we're getting quite late. So I'll just say, yeah, what have we talked about today? Mostly me ranting on about paint. But we've introduced Brushlikker. So Brush is going to be one of our regular guests. You know, we might flip in, flip out, see what happens with our guests. We're just seeing what happens. We're a new pod, just seeing where the wind takes us, to be honest. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you guys. Brush, Norm, Adam, thank you for joining me. Where can you find the podcast? You can find it on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Probably you're listening to it on Spotify, though. But yeah, please follow, subscribe, like, and leave us a little comment as well on whatever you're listening on. And we'll try and answer it in the next pod if it's a good question. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye for now.
Bye. Joe
Bye.
Bogo.
Pineapples.
Pineapples.
Do not belong on pizza.